What's going on, everybody? Wood Talk Sports back again today with another mock draft. This is mock draft 4.0. 3.0 was released about a week ago, and I thought, you know what? I've got some other ideas, make this a weekly thing, and boom, I've got mock draft 4.0 coming out for y'all. So, before we get started, just want to say if you enjoy the content, you like watching, uh, make sure to subscribe. I'd appreciate it a lot. Like the videos as well. It helps me a lot on this journey of trying to grow as a YouTuber, and it always helps me out. It's free, so I appreciate it if you did. But we'll get into it right now. And first off, first things first, I did this last time, I believe. I'm going to do my Justin Fields trade because I think Justin Fields will be traded. Now, I don't think it's going to be for a first round pick, which, I mean, some people for some reason think it'll be a first round pick. I don't. I think the Atlanta Falcons will trade for Justin Fields, and let me just make the draft trade. It's gonna be Justin Fields for. I was originally saying 2 third-round picks, but I feel like a team is willing to give up one second. The Falcons, I think their second's too valuable to them, so they won't. So I think the Falcons still give up 2 third-round picks. I'm still going to force it since I'm on both teams. Justin Fields will now be the Atlanta Falcons quarterback, which will actually influence one of the things I do in this mock draft. We'll get to there when I get to there. So first things first pick, Caleb Williams still. I don't see it being anyone else. Obviously, I just traded away Justin Fields. So it's going to be Caleb Williams going number 1 overall. And there's really no doubt to it in my opinion. It seems like Justin Fields is starting to trend towards finding a new home and becoming a team on a new team, becoming the quarterback of a new team. And it looks like the Bears might be moving on to Caleb Williams, which I think is the better idea. Now at number 2, we're going to go with Drake May. I had Jaden Daniels in the last one, who, as I said, could fit into a Kingsbury scheme a little bit better. I just think Drake May, been watching a lot more of his stuff. His completion percentage wasn't great, but I mean, this last season he missed kind of his big time guys. Didn't have Tez Walker the whole season. But Drake May's got the size for an NFL quarterback. He's already being pro comparisons of Herbert and Allen, and I mean, with the size that he has, if you develop him right, I mean, as I said, I think he's the most pro ready in my opinion. If he just keeps growing, he'll be a phenomenal quarterback for Washington. So number 3 now, I just think it's going to play out like this. Most people have been actually going Marvin Harrison Jr. People obviously going Jaden Daniels. I'm one of those Jaden Daniel guys. I just think Jaden Daniels, as I said in the last one, the exponential growth that he has had throughout his college career, and you saw from 2021 to 2022 to 2023, especially the 2022 season to the 2023 season. He was a good runner in 2022, but then you saw his passing game really improve his Heisman season. And if he can do this and follow this into the NFL, he could be that franchise guy for New England. And obviously, they won't go long they wouldn't have gone long with the franchise guy. Obviously, they got Mac Jones right now. Bailey Zappi, who isn't the answers for their quarterback problems. So I think Jaden Daniels can be the answer. Number 4 now, it's going to be the same. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. Now, as I said, if they don't trade Justin Fields, Marvin Harrison's going to be a Bear. The Bears will probably trade down, give someone else Caleb Williams. If they go Caleb Williams, I could see the Patriots taking Marvin Harrison Jr. But Marvin Harrison Jr., if he falls out of the top 5, would genuinely be, there had to be something that went wrong about him. It would be the most shocking thing ever. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a fantastic wide receiver. I mean, no name value. Name value aside, he is going to be fantastic. You can watch how he played. And he played so well, Heisman finalist with Kyle McCord at quarterback, who wasn't the greatest. And so we'll move on to 5. The Chargers, I really wanted to trade their pick because I think the guy that they're going to get is going to be available a little bit later and they could get some draft capital. So I could go with a trade later on, but for right now, I don't know who would trade up because obviously the Falcons could maybe trade up, and maybe they get a guy who they think is like J.J. McCarthy. They think J.J. McCarthy's their guy. But I just traded Justin Fields to them, so no. Neither of these two teams are going to trade up 2 picks unless like the Titans absolutely think that they need Malik Neighbors or something like that. Maybe the Vikings, the Broncos. The only thing, my problem was I don't see the Chargers trading their pick to the Broncos or Raiders and trading up with letting a divisional rival trade up, because I mean, why would you let your divisional rival get a higher prospect that's probably high on your board too? It's just that you don't want him as much. Or maybe even like the Raiders end up trading up and then they go and take Brock Bowers, who I've had the Chargers taking so many times, so I'm going to keep him at 5, and the pick I'm going to stick with is Brock Bowers. Need I say more? Generational talent at tight end. I've said it every single time. And number 6, last time I had him going Joe Alt, fixing that offensive line situation with Evan Neal. I think they could solve that in the second round, early second round. I mean, there's a lot of guys, maybe Jordan Morgan falls to them second round. Kingsley Suamataia, I don't know. Kieran, another guy I don't know how to pronounce. But BYU, Yale, Arizona, those 3 guys right there. Those 3 guys could possibly fall to the Giants in the second round. So that's why I'm not jumping the gun too much on Joe Alt anymore for the Giants, especially when there is that big of a prospect in Malik Neighbors available at number 6. And so Malik Neighbors is going to be a Giant. A lot of people that came up to me and talked to me after my 3.0 and said, Malik Neighbors dropping a 9 was a very interesting thing, especially for a team like maybe Tennessee, who obviously a lot of people think need to go offensive line and protect Will Levis. Their wide receiver 1 is an aging DeAndre Hopkins. I feel like they wouldn't pass up on him. Or I feel like the Falcons wouldn't pass up on Malik Neighbors because he's just that good. Or there's no way the Giants don't pick him. Or maybe he goes to the Chargers and Brock Bowers drops on the board. But I had to think about it a little bit more, and Malik Neighbors is just that good of a player, so I can't really pass up on Malik Neighbors for the Giants, and that'll be huge for Daniel Jones, especially coming back from the big injury. Keeping him safe is a priority, but giving him the opportunity to throw the ball to open receivers will also be a big opportunity. So I'm going to have Malik Neighbors as a Giant. Number 7, obviously now we'll go with our offensive tackle 1 of the draft, Joe Alt. I'm going to stick to building that offensive line for the Titans with Peter Skoronski in the last draft and Joe Alt now. In this draft, I like Will Levis a lot, second-round pick last year, and I thought that was a pretty good value for him. I thought he'd go in the first round, and he surprised me. I wasn't the biggest fan of Will Levis, so keeping him safe and keeping him protected is going to be a big thing for the Titans to do, especially if they think he's going to be their quarterback of the future. Now, number 8, with the Falcons, this is where I'm going to end up trading. They just got Justin Fields. They think they can get their guy a little bit later that they want. I'm going to trade with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I'm not going to do the full details. The Vikings will obviously have to give up their first-round pick this year, maybe in a little bit more for it, maybe a pick swap later as well. But I'll just force it for now, just these 2 picks, just because we're doing a 1-round mock draft. Now the Vikings are up at number 8. They could go a lot of different directions. Now, the reason I have them trading up is at 11, you're in a great spot at 11. But at number 11, there's a team above you that maybe you don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they jump the gun. Maybe Denver jumps the gun, like I had last time, Denver trading up to get a quarterback. This time I have Minnesota jumping up. Their general manager, he's known for being a little aggressive when it comes to trades. I mean, he traded with an interdivision rival to get TJ Hawkinson. So I think he's going to be aggressive. Go quarterback here. Kirk Cousins is a free agent. He's also very old. Even if they get him back, he will probably only be able to play a couple more years. So they're going to draft their quarterback that they think is going to be their future guy, and that's going to be J.J. McCarthy. And the reason I've got that happening is I think that he is a very, very good prospect for the Vikings, and that he could be that guy for Minnesota, especially because Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, all of that is going to be huge for Minnesota, and you get a guy who has the arm talent. Maybe he didn't always have to throw the football for Michigan. He can use his legs. That overall well of a talent, he can thrive under the right system, and especially putting him with one of the best groups of positions and talents in the NFL. I think J.J. McCarthy would be able to grow into a high-level NFL quarterback. Now, at number 9, we're going to go back to the bread and butter that I was doing. Rome Odunze is going to be a Chicago Bear, and that is just to, as I've said, match up Rome Odunze with Caleb Williams, that little duo that they can build in Chicago alongside DJ Moore, alongside Cole Kmet, who I really like him as a tight end, doesn't really get as much love, but Rome Odunze to Chicago will be a big one. Number 10 now. Obviously, I had them trading back to 12, and they ended up getting Talise Fuaga at 12 overall. But now Olu Fashanu is still available because I don't have the Giants taking Joe Alt. I have them taking Malik Neighbors again. That means that Fashanu is going to be a New York Jet. Protecting Aaron Rodgers after the injury is going to be their biggest thing. Would they want to go receiver? Yes, I think you can get a receiver in a later round. Obviously, they do not have their second-round pick from the Rodgers trade last year. That is the Packers pick, which will be big for the Packers, may I say. I think they can get a good guy early second round. And, I mean, every second-round player, early second round, is a very, very close to first-round talent type guy. So, Fashanu for the Jets to protect Rodgers. Yes, you don't have the wide receiver capability, but you can go out and get a wide receiver in free agency. There's going to be a good amount of wide receivers in free agency this offseason. Now, at number 11, we've got the Falcons finally back on the clock after trading their pick. And I think I'm just going to go straight to him, who my favorite defensive player in the draft is. It's Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner is just a stud. And maybe they could go somewhere else if he isn't available. If Dallas Turner isn't available, maybe the Bears decide, let's go edge rusher. Let's not go Rome Odunze. Maybe the Falcons get Rome Odunze. Or maybe they get Jared Verse. They go edge still. I just think Dallas Turner will be the first defensive player off the board, and it will be outside of the top 10, which is kind of crazy to be saying right now. But he will be the first defensive player, and he will be playing at Atlanta under new head coach Raheem Morris, and he will be an absolute stud. And now at number 12, this might hurt all my Raider fans. I know my dad has especially become fond of this prospect. But all the Raider fans, I'm so sorry. I've given this guy to the Raiders every single mock draft because I think he's a perfect fit. But now that I don't have the Broncos taking quarterback and moving up, I just got to do it. He's the best corner available in this draft. As I said, he's the 4th ranked corner on this big board. Don't understand why. He's my favorite corner in the draft. Terrion Arnold to the Denver Broncos to match him up and put him up together with Patrick Surtain II. Put those two as the two corners of that Broncos team. That's incredible. You've got Pat Surtain, who's a lockdown, one of the best corners in the league, arguably the best corner in the league. You got Terrion Arnold, who's such a big playmaker at Alabama with 5 interceptions, 12 passes defended. He's an absolute stud. I love watching his film, and as much as it pains me to not give the Raiders that guy because I think that he's a perfect prospect for Las Vegas, he's going to Denver, and Terrion Arnold and Pat Surtain is going to be an absolute deadly lockdown duo. Maybe a new version of the no-fly zone in Denver. Now at 13, since the Raiders can't get their guy, I was thinking Nate Wiggins, Quinyon Mitchell, go corner still. But at this point, I think this is when they turn and they say, we didn't get our guy in defense, let's go get our guy in offense. And that's where Talise Fuaga comes into play. And you can put him at right tackle on the other side of Colton Mitchell. That'll be big for the Raiders, is getting that protection up front. Because they could go get a free agent quarterback this offseason. They could stick with Aiden O'Connell. They could get a guy later. They could maybe go draft Michael Penix, Bo Nix. Maybe give a chance on Jordan Travis, who's coming off an injury, but he looked really good at Florida State. Who knows? So I'm going to go with Talise Fuaga. I think he's their best choice there, and he is going to be a Raider. Now next up at 14, I'm going to go Saints. Don't get Roma Dunze like I did last time. That was because I had a lot of different circumstances. Don't get Tulisa Fuaga. So they're going to go and fix their tackle problem once more. Could go D-line, get a Jared Verse because of their aging Cam Jordan. I think they're going to go get the big man, J.C. Latham, to play right tackle. Now, you have Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle right now, but he's got a lot of problems with his knees and whatnot. I don't think Latham's fast enough to play left tackle in the NFL. You could move Ryan Ramczyk to left tackle and keep Latham at right, or you could try him out at left. I mean, he's just huge. I mean, 6'6", 6'7", 250, 235, somewhere around that range. Just an absolute giant of a man. And with Trevor Penning being the left tackle, who has not worked out, the 2022 first-round pick, I mean, I think you go and you solve that problem by getting a new tackle. Now at 15, I'm going to stick with what I did last time. I think the Colts need corner. That's going to be their main priority, and Nate Wiggins fits that perfectly for them. They need every position pretty much on the defensive back secondary area, and I think Nate Wiggins, getting that guy for your corner position is going to be huge. You've got the slot corner in Kenny Moore II, so getting an outside corner in Nate Wiggins will be a big thing for them to improve their defense. Now at number 16, the Seattle Seahawks. I had Troy Fautanu going to them last mock draft. And this mock draft, I'm going to go with Byron Murphy is going to be a Seattle Seahawk. I don't think I've done this before. I had him going 11 to Minnesota, 15, I think, to the Colts, and then last mock draft, I had him dropping quite a bit to the Cardinals at 27. I don't think he's that bad of a prospect to drop that much. It just comes up to team needs, and I think with Leonard Williams being a pending free agent, he is a free agent, which I did not really know until a couple days ago when I was doing some more research on this. I realized that one of their interior D linemen isn't gonna be there. So Byron Murphy will fit that role, and I think he's one of the better pass rushing defensive linemen in this draft class, and getting pressure for their defensive line. They already have a really good secondary, in my opinion. Seattle's secondary is great. Now, if you get a good pass rush and get a good D line, that defense is going to be absolutely deadly. So getting Byron Murphy is going to be a big piece for Seattle. Now at 17, I'd been giving him to the Jaguars in, I believe, mock draft 2.0. I'm going to go back to it. Had him not going to them last time. It's Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. His athleticism is something that I love watching, and he might have only gone to Toledo, but he can cover. You can't really discredit the guy for not being able to cover. Oh, he didn't cover enough people. Had a great Senior Bowl, and he'll be a big thing for Jacksonville to fix their DB position that they once used to always have fantastic players in. So Quinyon Mitchell to the Jacksonville Jags. Now 18 to the Bengals. Obviously, I've had them going J.C. Latham before. Still think they're going to go tackle. The dream scenario is somehow Brock Bowers drops to 18 and then get Brock Bowers. It's not happening. I'm going to go with Mr. Tyler Guyton at number 18 to the Bengals. Tyler Guyton, great Senior Bowl. He can play both tackle positions. He shows the athleticism. Fantastic at TCU, great at Oklahoma. There's a reason he's going to be in the first round. Need I say more? It's kind of hard to, really expand more on what I've said about him already. He's an athlete to play both tackles, and that's something that you need for Burrow, is a guy who can be expendable and protect you. The Bengals need to keep their guy healthy, because the 2 seasons Burrow's been fully healthy, they've made the AFC Championship. Now at number 19, I've been going Cooper DeJean a lot. Been going corner. This time I'm gonna go edge rusher, and I think they have a very young defensive line that is causing a lot of pressure last season. And why not add to it? Go Jared Verse at number 19. Jared Verse is a big, great player. I've always heard his name when I watch Florida State games. I always tried to find him when I watched Florida State games. And he is going to be, honestly, in my opinion, one of the steals of this draft, dropping to 19 to the Rams and putting him with Byron Young, Kobe Turner, and Aaron Donald. Those three, and then Jared Verse. That is a deadly pass rushing group. That's just a deadly defensive line in general. So Jared Verse at 19. At number 20, I'm going to stick to it. Jackson Powers Johnson. Steelers need center. They could go out and get Connor Williams in free agency, the Dolphins center, but I don't see that happening. I think they can just stick to Jackson Powers Johnson, who I think is a great center, the only center that will really go that high up the board. I think another center has a chance of going up the board with Zach Frazier. Obviously, Graham Barton can play center, but I think Jackson Powers Johnson's an absolute stud, so he's going to go 20. 21, I have Graham Barton last time. I'm going Troy Fautanu because he is still available for the Dolphins. Dolphins could use any position on the line. And what's Troy Fautanu going to do? He's going to get you any position on the line. Maybe not center. They could experiment that. But I will stick with Troy Fautanu to the Dolphins. Now, number 22, the Eagles. My problem with the Eagles is I can really only see them going defensive back here or maybe a wide receiver. What I do think they'll do, however, is this will be my first team to trade out of the first round. And the reason I'm going to do that is I don't like any of the prospects that fit for the fit of the Eagles. I've been giving them Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm not too high on him right now. So, and mock drafts is all about, hypotheticals and what do you think, what could possibly happen. Now, there's one team in mind who I said something about them earlier. They have already picked. They picked a guy that could help with this next guy, and that's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Raiders will trade back up into the first round. Probably be some combination of something. I'm not going to go into it too much. They could give a second rounder, maybe like a second rounder this year. I don't see them wanting to give up that first round pick next year. They probably will since this is still like a mid first round pick. But you could go second rounder, give Philly two second round picks. For now, I'm just going to do like the first round swap. Philly's going to leave the maybe first, third, something else. Philly's going to jump out of the first round, get some draft capital for day 2 next year. And the Raiders will be picking twice in the first round, the only team other than, I think, Arizona to do so. And the Raiders are going to get their guy in Bo Nix. They're going to get Bo Nix. They're going to get their quarterback. I can see Antonio Pierce with the new coaching staff, new everything. Go get your QB in the first round. You get your protection in Talise Fuaga at 13. Now you've got your guy who can throw the football at 22. And you give him Devontae Adams. You give him Jacoby Myers. Hunter Renfrow if he still gets used. You give him Michael Mayer, second-round pick from last year, who was one of my favorite tight ends to watch. And, I mean, you put him in quite a good situation. I think the Raiders are in a very good situation right now. They went 8-9 last season, but they had the least amount of penalties, which is very rare from Las Vegas. It is you build up the offensive line with Talise Fuaga, who didn't look too terrible last season. The defense looked great under Antonio Pierce in a lot of their games. I mean, especially beating the eventual Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs, on Christmas Day because of their defense. I mean, you put the guy under center is really all you need. And Bo Nix, I think, is that guy. I think not all you need, but you do need offensive line. You do need to retain Josh Jacobs, which I don't know how they will do. Zamir White was very good for them. But Bo Nix is a great pick here for Vegas. And Vegas gets their QB for at least 5 years. That's a fifth-year option as well for Bo Nix, which most people, if he doesn't fall into the first round like most draft picks, will not have that fifth-year option. A fifth-year option on a quarterback is kind of big in my opinion. Now at 23, for the Texans, I'm going to stick with Brian Thomas Jr., having him on the outside with Nico Collins, the other outside wide receiver, and then Tank Dell at the slot is going to be deadly. You're building around C.J. Stroud. You need to give him weapons. As much as I like, Robert Woods, Noah Brown, they're good players. They're good players. But Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be a much better player for the Texans. And so that's where he's going to fall, in my opinion, because that's where he needs to be. He needs to be playing for Houston, and Stroud is going to get himself an absolute stud of a weapon. Now at 24, you've got the Dallas Cowboys. I think they need center, it says. So they could go Zach Frazier, which I had them doing last time. But I think there's a guy who's willing to make the move to center, who, in my opinion, is a better prospect. That is going to be Graham Barton. And Graham Barton played tackle at Duke. He also played some center. Actually played some center at Duke, I'm pretty sure. And he fits any need for you. I mean, you can put him at one of the tackle spots as well with Tyron Smith if they retain him. Tyler Smith stay at guard. So you get Graham Barton. I was also thinking maybe Amarius Mims to Dallas, but I think that Graham Barton just fits him completely, because if they retain both those guys, they could keep Tyler Smith at the tackles. They could put Graham Barton at center, or they could, put him at tackle, Tyler Smith at guard, Tyron Smith at tackle. If they don't get Tyron Smith, they don't retain him, Graham Barton at tackle, Tyler Smith at tackle, or Tyler Smith at left guard. So he can work for them in any case scenario. Now at number 25, I've got the Green Bay Packers. Now I almost had them trading up for the Philly pick, but now since I have Philly trading out of the first round, I'm going to have Cooper DeJean going to Green Bay. And the reason I think he'll go to Green Bay is Green Bay needs a safety. They could use a boundary corner. They could use a nickel. And what does Cooper DeJean do? He can play any of those positions. He is versatile, and he's able to go out there and play at a high level as well at any of these DB positions. So you can stick him at safety. You can stick him at nickel. I think he'd be a great nickel corner for the Packers. And putting him with Jair Alexander and a very young squad, putting another great young piece on their defense, especially because they have a lot of young pieces on offense, is going to be vital for Green Bay. So Cooper DeJean to the Packers. Now at 26, a guy with one of my favorite players to watch, a guy with great upside, great skill everywhere already, in my opinion. Just the injury problem is a big thing. It's going to be Laiatu Latu. Now, with Mike Evans, they've been struggling to get some contract talk. I could see Adonai Mitchell or Keon Coleman jumping up to 26 and going to the Buccaneers. But I think Laiatu Latu this late in the first round is going to be a great pick, and there's no way you can pass up on it. Now, if they lose their wide receivers, then obviously I don't think he goes here. I think he'll wait and end up going to Arizona or, Baltimore, and then you get Adonai Mitchell or Keon Coleman for the Bucs. But since he's still not on a different team, I'm going to go with Latu and hope best case scenario for Tampa Bay and say they go edge rusher in the draft. Now at 27, I had the Cardinals going Byron Murphy. Last time say they stick with D-line. This time they go with Jerzon Newton. Jerzon Newton, I still think is a first-round talent. A lot of people that I talk to don't think he's that much of a first-round talent. I love him as a player. I think he'll be fine for Arizona, being a great talent as well for Jonathan Gannon. So, Jerzon Newton to the Cardinals. At 28, I'm going to swap my 32 and 28. So, Keon Coleman was going to the Bills. I think Adonai Mitchell is just as good, if not better. He's more fluid, I would say. He flows a lot better on his routes. He's a jump ball getter, kind of like Keon Coleman. I just think I trust Adonai Mitchell to be more versatile as well. So I'm going to go Adonai Mitchell to the Bills. 29 for the Lions. I think you could go Ennis Rakestraw. You could go Zach Frazier. But I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry. I have him dropping a little bit on my draft board. I still think he'll be a first-round corner. But they need corner in Detroit. I mean, Cam Sutton needs to be the CB2 of that team, cannot be a CB1, which he was playing like last year, guarding the best players on the other teams, which did not work out very well for them toward in the majority of the season. So Kool-Aid McKinstry will be a good way to, have him develop under a veteran who, was reliable for a lot of teams, and get up to that potential of being a very good corner and start covering the number one targets on teams. Now, number 30 to the Ravens. I'm going to stick with it. Troy Franklin. I am very tempted to go a guy like Chop or Darius Robinson. I just think you just have two-time MVP Lamar Jackson on your team. How are you going to not give him the necessary weapons to succeed still? I mean, the wide receiver core was an improvement from what it has been, but you just extended Aguilar. You have Zay Flowers. You're probably going to lose OBJ because he's not worth that much money, and he got a lot of money last season. You have Isaiah Likely. You have Mark Andrews. I think you need to get another wide receiver and another speedy wide receiver in Troy Franklin, who could definitely drop into the second round, but I've got him going to the Ravens. At 31 to the 49ers, they need O-line. And there's one O-lineman that I see right here. It is Amarius Mims. And obviously he's only played eight games in college. He's just an absolute beast. I think he's going to be great for them. I mean, you have Trent Williams, who's getting old, and their O-line could use some improvement. Not the best O-line. The Niners have usually had very good O-lines. Not the best this last season. Still pretty good, but not the best. And Amarius Mims, you can, he has a mentor in Williams, and that'll make him a great O-lineman for the 49ers. He's going to go 31 still. Now at 32, as I said, flop 28 and 32. It's going to be Keon Coleman. Now, I think the Kansas City Chiefs, they need another weapon for Mahomes, and getting a jump ball weapon out wide would be huge for Kansas City. Now, that's going to be my mock draft 4.0. We've got, as you look here, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, 3 quarterbacks off the board, 4 in the top 10 with McCarthy at 8. Another big things we want to point out is Terrion Arnold no longer going to Vegas. We've got Bo Nix going to the Raiders after they trade back into the first round. Dallas Turner still falling to 11, being the first defensive player off the board. And Kool-Aid McKinstry dropping a little bit. Those are some big things. Graham Barton to the Cowboys. DeJean to the Packers. You see it here. Don't need to read all of them to you. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was Mock Draft 4.0. And let me know what you guys think. Who you think your favorite team's going to draft. If you agree with me, disagree with me, just put it down in the comments. Once again, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on all socials for reliable sports content, But that's going to be it for me. Peace out.